Growing up in the 80s and being a wrestling fan meant you were exposed to all kinds of great managers. Here in front of me, a handful of some of the all-time greats. They were immortalized in action figure form, and actually learning the news just this morning that luscious Johnny V has passed away after being hit by a truck. A tragic, tragic accident, which appears to be an accident. But the point of today's video is to talk more about managers, because this guy right here, Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South, recently was asked who he would like to manage, who on the current WWE roster would he like to manage. He chose Elias. That got me to thinking, it would be great if we could bring back the concept of a manager. I know Precious Paul Ellering has returned to NXT. He's been a manager for the Road Warriors from many, many years ago, and now he's with the Authors of Pain. Of course, there's Paul Heyman, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot of the managerial types. Like back in the day, you had this many men, and the case of Miss Elizabeth, women on the roster managing X amount of guys. You just don't see it anymore. Instead, we see Kurt Angle come back, we see Mick Foley come back, but they come back as general manager. There's speculation right now that Jeff Jarrett could actually be added as a general manager. I think these past superstars, and even some of these past managers, Jimmy Hart, of course, would be an obvious choice to bring back in to the fold as a manager for potential superstars and help with that development. The 80s was a great period of time, whether you grew up then or not, and of course I'm biased because I did, but I just feel like there's a lot of stuff missing from that style of wrestling that could be brought back today and help enhance the product. And the manager is one of those. So, Jeff Jarrett, general manager would be fine, but what about bringing him in as an actual manager? Ric Flair did it kind of briefly there with Evolution. I would love to see him come back in as a manager as well. We saw it in the 90s with Ted DiBiase and Hillbilly Jim, stars of the 80s, kind of transitioning in. The Honky Tonk Man did it. The Iron Sheik briefly did it as well. So who from the past, superstar-wise, would you like to see come in as a manager? Past managers, Alejandro, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The guy who was managing Umaga, though. You know who I'm talking about, Estrada, Armando Estrada. Would love to see him brought into the fold once again as a manager. I thought he was great. And Washington, Abraham Washington, who managed the Primetime Players. I thought he was pretty good too. So managers are a needed part of professional wrestling these days, and I think WWE needs to get back into the business of having managers on the roster, not just in that authoritative figure role. Thanks everyone so much for watching My 123 Cents, and don't forget to subscribe.